They call the Bible like the living word. It's alive. It's talking to you. It's not a one-way communication. It's like, that's what's scary about it. Dude, read the fucking Bible on mushrooms. Dude, you know what I mean? Like,
that's probably how it was written. I wish I could read like the ancient versions in the language and understand the language and the context.
Me too.
Because it's not just about learning the language. It would be about understanding the context of the language. Like, imagine if you could really understand ancient Hebrew where the letters double as numbers.
Dude.
Like, that must be so weird.
Yeah, man. And like, that's real. That's the other thing about it is like the historic Jesus and all that. God, that shit. Like, okay, I don't know, but look at the thing itself.
Right. Look what it said. Whatever this idea spawned. Look what it means. Like, look at all the powerful principles that emerge from it, and then I'll look at like the moral scaffolding that it provides for people.
Yeah, and then like I think the reason like people get creeped out by it is because where there's one thing, its opposite must appear, right? So here's this thing, that is dissolving power structures and dissolving the priest class and dissolving like all of it. And then you look at like the modern day versions of it and you see the same fucking hierarchy. You see this thing that it seems to be antithetical to, which is like saying like, this is between you and me. Right. Like suddenly there's people telling you you're wrong, interpreting it for you, and you look at that and you're like, fuck that shit. Whatever that is, I'm not in.
And it's charismatic people in front of large groups of people that really know how to manipulate people with the way they talk.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing that was so problematic when they first started translating the Bible into phonetic languages, into languages like German. And when people started, like during the Martin Luther days, they're like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? It used to be the priests had to read the Bible because they could read it in Latin. You don't know Latin, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
This is what God wants you to do. Do it.
Yeah.
And then Martin Luther's coming along and said, you should interpret this your own way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? So they take away the gatekeepers to God.
That's it.
But when you have, it's so crazy that it's such an efficient business that they still run these fucking franchises, even though the book is available everywhere. It's so crazy that like this one person interprets this better than everybody else. So you go and see him and he talks, and then they develop egos and they have jets and they have fucking mansions and Rolls Royces. It's so crazy that works. It's crazy that works when that book is available for everybody and should be interpreted. I mean, you should understand what it means. You shouldn't interpret it ignorantly, right?
Right.
But if you're wise enough to be able to capture what they're trying to say, just capture in your mind what they're trying to say and translate it into a thing that makes sense. You're like, what were they talking about?
Yeah.
What happened? Is this a map of how the universe was created? In the beginning, there was light. Is that a map? Or is that life itself? Like, what is that?
What is it?
What is that?
And to me, that's like, like the Bhagavad Gita, any of these beautiful texts. That's what's fun about them is that it's producing a kind of like bizarre riddle in your own mind as you're trying to decode it.
Right.
But then there's a pull. The more you study it, the more you get drawn in. And when you start getting really drawn in, that's when people start appearing around you that help in a non-nefarious way. That like you just start meeting people who help you understand it a little bit more, and that's where it gets fucking weird.
Simulation.
Yes, dude. You're like, the simulation is fucking real. And by the way, now that we've talked about the Bible, can I talk about my new favorite book?
Yes.
Dianetics. Have you heard of this book?
Yes. I heard if you're really good at it, they put you on a boat, an org. And,
it's an org.
You get to be a part of an org, a sea org.
A sea org.
And you get a jacket with like some medals.
Fuck, dude, it's I've said on this podcast a million times, my favorite Mark Twain quote: religion is what happened when the first con man met the first fool. And dude, like that's the problem with all this stuff is like, this is...
The problem is there's too many versions, right? So someone's wrong.
No, the problem is people don't trust their fucking instincts, and it's like drive all blames into oneself. It's like this is nothing that I am seen in the New Testament seems to be inviting you to throw your rational mind away. It's the whole fucking thing is crazy. It's crazy, but it's like the invitation is to like, God gave you a rational fucking mind if there is a God, and like anyone telling you to discard that and forego your interpretation for theirs.
Yeah.
Dude, watch the fuck out. This is your job. Like, just like whatever the fucking thing is, whether it's the Bible, Reddit conspiracy, fucking 4chan, whatever the fucking thing is, what are you afraid of? Like, how do you not trust your mind? How weak are you? Are you really afraid to like take data in? Do you think you're going to be corrupted by data?
Well, isn't it also an identity thing? Because if you identify as the person that gets to talk in front of everybody, you're the priest.
Right.
Yeah, that's your identity, and you're not going
Right.
to give that up because then you're just another person who reads the Bible.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
well, then Mike can go up too. Tomorrow, Mike's going to go up. Mike's been trying at home,
Yeah.
practicing in front of the mirror, and he thinks he's ready to be
Yeah.
a priest. So
Yeah.
why don't you let Mike try it tomorrow night? And
nah.
then Debbie's been reading a lot too, and Debbie'd like to try Tuesday. And this guy's used to getting his jollies off 3-4 times a week,
Yeah.
telling people about blasphemy.
Yeah.
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 And then, especially if you're like one of them tent revival guys, those wild dudes like Kinnison used to be,
Yeah.
just con artists that are also saying biblical quotes, but they're manipulating people. They're really good at talking. They're hypnotizing people with their words, just like you hypnotize a comedy audience.
Dude, this is why I listen to Christian radio, man, because like
Why don't you look at
as a comic,
Jesus?
listening to sermons and recognizing like that's a joke. Like he's done that a lot. Like that's one of his gags. Like I know
That's a
I know-
bit.
That's a bit. I know what
Yeah.
that is. That's a fucking
Yeah.
bit. But again, it's like the comment section. This is not an example of humanity. It's an example of fucking people with toxoplasmosis who are you know what I mean? You motherfucker. Well,